After months of it being kept a secret at Alton Towers, we finally know what is coming for 2020. And that is going to be Gangsta Granny, one of David Walliams' books, adaptations into a real life adventure. Welcome to UK Theme Parks. My name is Adam, and of course we did bring you a video back when we were at the park for all the wonderful graphics that went up just before we found out it was going to be David Walliams related. Since then, we have been joining the bandwagon as to what it will be. Well, now we know what it's going to be, and it's of course the 40th anniversary of Alton Towers, and we're going to take a look now in detail at 4 key areas. What is Gangsta Granny? First, we're going to look at what that is, then we're going to move on and we're going to have a look at what we can expect from the ride, a little bit of speculation as well along the way. We're then going to have a look at how does it fit the towers, how does it fit Alton Towers itself, and then of course we will share our thoughts. And of course we really want your thoughts at the end as well, so please stay around, get involved with the conversation. So first, what is Gangsta Granny? Well, it is a huge book from the author David Walliams, who of course the world is based on. Gangsta Granny is about a young Ben discovering his granny. He thinks she's really boring and really non-exciting. Is actually a secret international jewel thief. And he actually climbs on board as well with her to make an attempt at stealing the crown jewels. That is what the story is about. That is what Gangsta Granny is about. The book itself has been hugely successful in the UK and has actually sold 1.35 million copies as of November 2019. And of course, this is also a well-buy book, so you know the figure is absolutely massive. This isn't just a flash in the pan. David Walliams has been best-selling author back since sort of 2014 on and off. So this is huge. This is a huge IP for the theme park. But what about the ride itself? Well, let's take a look at the ride itself. What do we know? Well, we know it's going to be a track dark ride. It's going to be indoors. It's home of the old Wobblewell building, which currently has been used for House of Monsters during a couple of Scarefests. It didn't return last year, but was there the couple beforehand. And it will follow a track around the inside of the building. Along with physical sets, you'll be able to see these on twist and spin 360-degree vehicles. So what that means is once you're inside the vehicle, it's going to spin, it's going to twist, and it's going to take you between scenes. So you're not kind of stuck with looking forward and having to look out left and right. It is going to point you directly where the action is. Now, we don't have particularly many of these in the UK. The one we're going to use as an example, although it may not be the best example for everyone, is of course Tomb Blaster, which as you go round aims you towards the sets and it gets you to see what you need to see. So it's going to be very similar. However, far more technologically advanced. We'd expect this to move with pace. We'd expect you to take it into the scenes far more seamlessly than certainly the slower paced Tomb Blaster does. We have been promised state-of-the-art technology for this one. Absolute state-of-the-art technology. Now this includes, but certainly not limited to, special effects. They're saying it's going to be a 4D attraction. So in being a 4D attraction, there is the potential that we will need to wear glasses, as well as having effects or smell pods in the air. And it's going to really tell the story as it goes. Projection mapping will be used because it's not a small building, but it's certainly not massive by any means. I think actually for a dark ride, I'd probably class it as a fairly small building. However, they are promising you will see, feel, hear and smell as you go around in this massive 4D experience. And projection mapping, of course, can be done on a really kind of low scale in terms of space-wise. And I think, if you're thinking about projection mapping, certainly that Merlin have used recently, the opening sequence, The Room on the Broom at Chesington is a great example. Even some of the effects they use inside the Gruffalo River Ride Adventure, that's the kind of thing I'd be expecting to see around Gangsta Granny the ride. From the video which Alton Towers released promoting this, we did get a chance to look at the plans of the ride, and there's no reason why this wouldn't be the final plan of the ride, in honesty, certainly when we look at the track. And we're going to look at a couple of key highlights on here. We don't know for facts, we want to say this is speculation. Let us know what you think in the comments below, but this is what we think the ride lines up as. Now the first thing you see is the cars themselves. These would likely be the cars. The second thing we're going to show you is probably the physical sets where they're quite deep. The third thing we're going to show you is these pointers where I believe the cars will spin around the sets. Now then, there's quite a lot to take in there, and as you can see by the plans, it's not a big ride. It's not a big ride at all, with potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points in which the car will turn. And of course, when you kind of look across the screen, where we think we've highlighted physical sets is where you'll see things, and everything else will probably be special effects, and indeed they will be projection mapping, which is fine with us. It works absolutely fine. We'd be really happy with that. Now, it is worth mentioning as well that each car can hold 8 people. We only see 4 cars on there. Again, depending on how big the ride is, I'd probably expect more than 4 cars. This could possibly work, this ride, to be honest with you, as one that's, they work really closely together if it has a moving platform. Whilst there's nothing to suggest that at all, and I don't want you to think there is, it is something that could, potentially speed up loading, because this will be, much like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was, a really popular ride once it opens. And for those that remember Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the queues were astronomical for the first season, and then it died down. Now then, taking it from the press release itself, we can tell you that obviously using state-of-the-art technology, which they're going to be using, inspired by the artwork of Tony Ross, who does the artwork for the book. Guests will descend with Ben and Granny into the sewers, get chased through the streets of London, and come face to face with the Queen herself. So these are the scenes we're expecting to see through here. Obviously, it will be really nice if they bring some models to life and don't just rely on the projection mapping to do that. However, it is really unclear at this stage what kind of money has gone into this and what we can expect. So a big question is, how does this fit Alton Towers, and what else are we kind of expecting this to bring? Well, first things first, we'll get it out of the way. There will be hotel rooms themed around Gangsta Granny in the hotel. So you'll be able to go and stay at one of those, starting at the moment at £283 per night based on 4 people. So yeah, it's not going to be cheap to stay there. However, we are aware obviously that Cloud Cuckoo Land is no more, and it is going to be the World of David Walliams. So some of the rides are going to have to be rethemed. Some of them have been announced as a retheme, and some of them possibly not. The park has also hinted on Twitter of new attractions, so let's have a quick look at what we know 100%. So, Giggle with Delight on Raj's Bouncy Bottom Burp, which is the likely retheme of obviously the Frog Hopper. Race on a Regal Thoroughbred on the Royal Carousel kind of speaks for itself. Obviously, we'd be expecting a carousel, and then pick up a crazy bargain in Raj's shop. We don't quite know where the shop's going to go. It does look like that Gangsta Granny has a shop at the end. Whether that will be the shop or indeed the old shop by the cinema theatre area will be reopened is yet to be seen. There is no news so far on the driving school and how that's going to fit in, or whether indeed will fit in. However, the website has been updated with the new attractions, with Frog Hopper and Carousel removed, and the cars are still on there. We'd be surprised if they were removed, but a retheme may be on the cards for them. The park have also suggested on Twitter that there may be a new show or a new theatre show. Some of these have been adapted, so a potential 4D cinema show wouldn't go amiss, and indeed a ride to kind of bolster this up. And when we say a ride to bolster this up, I think it's important to remember now is, how does it fit Alton Towers? Well, actually, when we first heard about this, we were a bit unsure, and certainly we've had some negative comments on here. We've had some negative comments over on our Twitter and Facebook page. But you have to remember, the park have CBeebies Land, which goes to a certain age, and then they are sort of lacking. Now then, it is worth noting that Gangsta Granny is indeed aimed at 8 to 12-year-olds. So it's an area of the park that, the family market that they are missing, and it's a potential family thrills market which can fit in really nicely and certainly breathe some new life into that area. That said, the rides and attractions that are there, excluding the new one, don't necessarily fit. So another new attraction, I don't want to say the return of the wave swinger, but another new attraction with a slightly higher height restriction really might sit really well with it. And of course, if it's popular, they may do a phase 2, phase 3, much like they did with CBeebies Land, and add to it over time. They may just get this ride in. It's important to remember this is a new ride. It's not a retheme or anything like that. It was only a bouncy castle and then House of Monsters afterwards. It is a brand new attraction, so we are getting a new attraction at Alton Towers next year. So what's our thoughts on this? Well, actually, looking back on it and seeing some of the plans, I think our thoughts are really strong on this. I think the area needed some regenerating, 100% needed some regenerating. It's looked poor, they've removed stuff from there, and it's just an area that isn't used very well. I think this ride will be really, really good. I really hope they don't skimp on it. It's a small building is my only concern, and you know, it's not trackless. You know, modern day technology, it's not trackless. They probably could have done more with that than what they can do with what they're doing. However, that said, I am looking forward to riding it. Biggest concern has to be, you know, the age of the book and potentially what they could have bought in for a family thrill market, that the other rides in the area don't fit that. The other 3 rides there, should the car stay, don't fit that. And we might need just a little bit more from it. Obviously, the dungeons is next door. I wouldn't be too worried about the dungeons because as it is, Cloud Cuckoo Land is separated. I think when people think about the dungeons, they think that it used to be Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Toyland Tours that was perhaps part of that land, but it's not been part of that land for quite a while now. So separating it off is no different from walking sort of from Wicker Man down to down to another area, or you know, Nemesis to Jewel or something like that. I don't think it makes much of a difference, to be honest with you, especially at the age range this is ranged to, because if it does range to 10, 11-year-olds, they're going to be used to going on Wicker Man and some of the bigger rides, and potentially the dungeons, as it's a family market anyway. So that's not a concern of mine. But what do you think? Please leave your comments below. What do you think? We now know what it is. I've had time to digest it. We've had a quick look at what we can kind of see. But what have you taken from this? Please leave your comments below. Remember to like and subscribe. Stay with us. Obviously, we'll be checking this ride out as soon as it opens in the new year.